I'm Katie.
And I'm Luke.
And today we're making gnocchi. What exactly is gnocchi, you ask? Well, it's more than a pronunciation. I was going to make a joke about it. Okay, so the first thing you need to know about gnocchi is the pronunciation, because I can't do it well. So I'm going to tell you right now, this whole video, I'm going to be repeating the word because I'm not going to say it right the first time. So it's gnocchi.
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 Right.
So where does gnocchi come from?
Gnocchi is an Italian dish. It is potato dumplings. And it has basically 3 ingredients: potato, flour, and salt.
Wow.
Yeah. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop these bad boys, these big old potatoes that we got, into the oven. So you could boil the potatoes, but what we're trying to do is get as much moisture out of the potatoes as possible. So we don't want to introduce any more moisture into them. What would also be a good idea is leftover potatoes. If you just have some leftover potatoes laying around, they're nice and drying out in the fridge from last night's dinner, that would be a good idea too.
Cool.
Alright, so our potatoes cooked for about an hour in the oven, and they are tender. Tindy boys. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get the skins off of them, and we're going to mash them up.
Yay!
Alright, so we got our potatoes peeled, we got all the weird eyes off, all the green spots off of them. We're making 2 gnocchi recipes.
2.
One of them is gluten-free.
For me, because I don't do that.
Alright, so we're going to put these in a bowl.
And I actually want to be able to test this time. I didn't get to test the gumbo last time because there's flour in it. So now I get to test these ones because we're making some gluten-free.
Potatoes go into the bowl. You can have that bowl. Yes, all the potatoes into the bowl. Alright, so next step is mashing these potatoes.
So I think normally, don't people normally use like a ricer for this step?
Yeah, so that would definitely make the potato finer, but mashing them with a fork or a potato masher is just fine.
If you don't want any clumps in it, or if you want it to be like really smooth, and you can use a masher, not a masher.
A ricer.
You can use a ricer or a like a cheese shredder.
Yeah, so if you let them cool down, like if you do this the day before, you cook the potatoes in the oven the day before, then you can come back later or the next day and peel them and shred them on a cheese grater. But if you're gonna mash them, make sure you do it when they're warm because they mash a lot easier this way.
What about a food processor?
Food processor would agitate too much of the starch in the potatoes, and then it would become. You could literally make wallpaper paste out of potatoes.
Good
if you
to
process
know.
it too much, yeah.
Wallpaper is really in right now.
What?
Yeah, people love wallpaper.
We're not Chip and Joanne games, all right? We're gonna stick to what we know.
True. You said Chip and Joanne. Joanna.
No, Joanne's favorites.
It's Joanna.
It's mommy.
Mommy. Mama.
Okay, so the next ingredient is egg yolks. For this amount of potatoes, we're gonna do 1 egg yolk. We had about 2 potatoes in each once they were divided up. So we're gonna do 1 egg yolk per bowl. So we're just gonna divide this, this is 2 egg yolks in here, we're just gonna divide it evenly. Mamma mia. Okay, and then mix that up.
Where are we putting the egg yolk in right now?
We want the egg yolk to get mixed in evenly and not get clumped up in the flour. because that's just more kneading that we have to do later, and it's gonna make our dough tougher.
So this is probably another reason why it's good to have your potatoes all cooled off, because if they're still hot at this point, wouldn't that cook the egg?
Yeah, if you just pull them out of the oven, they're gonna destroy the egg.
And your fingers probably.
Yes.
You feel it like toughening up.
Yeah, so you don't want to mix it too much at this stage. We're gonna do all the kneading once we add in the flour. All right, so we have the egg yolk mixed in. I have my normal flour. She has her cassava flour. That's what she's gonna use to make hers gluten-free. It tastes pretty much the same, right?
Yeah, it tastes exactly the same.
Yeah, and it incorporates in the same way, so you get the same texture out of it. Like I said, this is kind of the equivalent to like 2 medium-sized potatoes. So we're gonna start out by mixing in a half a cup of flour, and then if we need a little more, we'll go from there, but we don't wanna add too much in the beginning because you can't take it out of it once it's in there.
Right.
All right. We're gonna add some salt. Good pinch of salt. All right. And then we're gonna start kneading it. Now this process is where a lot of things can go wrong, because if we overwork this, it's gonna be terrible. The texture is gonna be rock hard. But if we don't work it enough, it could just fall apart on us and won't have any texture to it at all.
Does the gluten-free flour still work the same way as far as it getting too tough?
So you don't have to worry about it as much, but you still have to worry about overworking the potatoes.
Because it's starch.
Right.
Just like the blender.
Just like the blender. Okay. All right, so this is really sticky. It's not really forming together, so I'm gonna go ahead and add some more flour to this.
If it's sticking to my fingers, then that's probably good.
Yeah, and it's too wet. So I'll put a measurement for flour in the description, but it's really gonna depend on, it could depend on the day. Maybe your potatoes have more moisture. It's more about feel and texture than it is about anything else. I'm gonna go ahead and turn mine out onto the bench. Add just a touch more flour. Yeah, that's good. You're looking for this to come together and get pretty smooth. Yeah, so about 90 seconds kneading is a good texture. This is actually really sticky and really wet, so I'm gonna actually add more flour. So you're looking for it to get nice and smooth and not too sticky. It should still be moist, but not sticky. So if you're at a stage where that's good, yeah, just start folding it over on itself. How sticky is it?
I mean, I feel like it's not sticky.
Okay.
I don't know. It kind of feels like a little bit old Play-Doh.
Yeah, that's a good texture.
Okay.
Like Play-Doh that's kind of dried out a little.
Okay, that's exactly.
You can still move it around.
Like I could tear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'm at a good texture. Looks like that's at a good texture. All right, so we're gonna roll it out. So I've floured my work surface. You have some flour left over there, don't you?
I do.
All right, so we're gonna flour that. I'm gonna cut this in half just to make it more manageable.
Okay. Halvesies.
Mm-hmm. All right, so then we're gonna take it, put it on the board, you're gonna roll it out.
Roll it out. Oh crap. Yeah, no, it's like separating.
So if it's separating like that, you wanna add a little bit more flour. So yeah, this is staying together. I'm working it, it's like a dough. If you can roll it out, it'll be fine. Even if it's a little too dry or a little too wet. So we're gonna roll them out. So you want it like, what'd you say, ½ inch thick? About an inch, almost an inch. So we're gonna cut into 1 inch by 1 inch squares.
Okay.
First, and then we can shape it into whatever we want.
Little pillows.
Little pillows.
Mine are all different sizes.
That's fine. You want to keep them kind of consistent, that way they cook in the same amount of time, but it's fine if they're a little off. This is what you're left with as your little shape. Now, a traditional gnocchi shape would be shaped by a fork. So you just take it, you pull it down the fork, and then you've got ridges on one side and then like a little sort of pocket on the other side. But what I think is the easiest way to shape them is to just take your little square, kind of push down the edges, that way it's like a pillow, and then you just take your pinky and you mash it down. And then you got a little pillow that's gonna hold all your sauce. There you go. All right, so I'm just gonna keep shaping it.
Can I fork them?
Mm-hmm.
You started the...
No, do it. No, the other way. Yep. And you're just gonna pull down in the middle. There you go.
Okay, so we got these all rolled out and cut and shaped. I will say for my gluten-free ones, it felt like drier Play-Doh to me. Whenever I was either pushing it in or rolling it out, I had to kind of like push some of it together because it was kind of falling apart. Hopefully in the cooking process, that won't affect it that much. We'll see how these cook up, but they look good.
Yep, so we've got 2 pans here, and the good thing about these is you pop these in the freezer, they're good to go. You put them in the freezer, you let them freeze on the pan, take them off once they're frozen, put them in a Ziploc bag, and they're fine. They take like 90 seconds to cook, which is only about 30 seconds longer than they normally take to cook from fresh. All right, so we will get all this cleaned up and we will show you how to cook them.
What are we doing?
We're gonna make a real quick tomato sauce here. All right, so I've got a couple tablespoons of olive oil heating up in a pan. We're gonna add our garlic in. I don't know why I sounded like Phyllis there. Garlic. We're gonna toast that real quick until it gets nice and fragrant. We don't want to burn it though, so be careful. Alright, so I'm going to add in 2 handfuls of tomatoes. Let those fry in the oil. I'm going to blister up a little bit. These are pretty ripe. Gonna mash them with a spoon here. You want to keep the temperature in the pot up with these 2. You want to still hear it cooking. Gonna add in some salt to help these break down. Just a big pinch of salt. Keep mashing them, and that'll give you an idea of how soft they are. So the tomato sauce we're preparing ahead of time because the tomatoes take a little longer to cook. We'll make a brown butter sauce, and we'll do that as we're cooking the gnocchi because that takes just a few minutes to come together.
Okay.
Now that they've softened, I just want this to come together faster, so I'm mashing them up with a whisk here.
A little whisk mash.
As Josh Weissman would say, a little whiskey business. Oh, I got a little too whiskey there. But this is going to be a chunky sauce. Alright, I'm going to turn this down. I'm going to turn it down to low. It's not quite done cooking, but we don't want to end up burning it. It's really nice and chunky, which if you have good tomatoes is fine. We're going to give this a taste. It's nice and garlicky. The salt's good. We're going to add some herbs to it now. Alright, so I'm going to add some dried oregano. Not too much. If I had some dried basil, I'd put that in too, but I actually don't have any. I'm going to add in some crushed red pepper. Give it a little spice. And then a few grinds of black pepper to round it all out. So you can cook this for as long as you want. The more you cook it, the more it's going to break down. But if you just want a nice fresh sauce, this is fine where it is, and it's taken us about, I don't know, 5 minutes to put this together. That's it, it's pretty good.
Yum.
We're gonna set that aside, then we're gonna make our brown butter sauce.
Okay, so we got water boiling. We have our tomato sauce dunzo. And now we get to make some brown butter sauce. Cutting you off.
I'm here. You're so short.
No, I'm not.
It's okay, so am I.
So, now we're gonna do this.
Yep, here we go. All right, so the water for the gnocchi is almost at a boil. I just put salt in it. We've got everything standing by. I've got a strainer to get the gnocchi out of there. I've got some butter slowly melting in this pan. And I've got my gnocchi ready to go. I've got all my spices, some Parmesan cheese. You wanna have everything ready to go because while this sauce is easy, you wanna have everything ready to go at the same time. As soon as our water is boiling and our butter is starting to get brown, we're gonna be in business. So I got this pan on medium heat, trying to get this butter going. This gnocchi is gonna take about 60 seconds since it's fresh. We're gonna cook the gluten-free one first, that way I'm not contaminating the water here. So right now, nothing's really happening with this butter. I'll show you guys what it looks like when it gets to where we need it to be. Alright, since I didn't say it before, there's about 2 tablespoons of butter in here. But don't want the brown bits to get brown too fast, because then it can kind of run away from you. Alright, so we've got a little bit of browning here. Those milk solids are just starting to get dark. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a handful of gnocchi to the pot.
How long do you think it took to brown the butter?
It took a couple minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Alright, so I'm going to add these in. Don't want them all sticking together. So those are going to take about 60 seconds to cook. I'm going to put a timer on. You don't really need the timer. What you're actually looking for is for them to rise to the top, but you'll know you did something wrong if it's been a while and they haven't done anything. Alright, so I'm going to take that off the heat. It's going to get a little bit darker sitting off the heat. I'm going to wait for these to start rising. So you take it off a little bit before it's done, and then it will it'll brown even more because this pan's still hot. So it'll brown more off the heat, more gently. I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to add in some oregano in here, just a touch. And then we're going to add in some red pepper flakes. We'll let those toast in there while this is coming together. It smells incredible. Yeah, so these are starting to float to the top here. And our timer just went off. So we'll turn that off. We'll put this back on the heat. We'll fish these out of here. Alright, so I got all those out of there. Keep these moving so they're not sticking too much. Alright, so we're going to hit this with a little bit of cheese. Depending on how much you want there. You can let them kind of sit there for a second and get a crust on them. Alright, and so then, to make this really come together and become a sauce, we're going to put in some of that pasta water. And you want to keep this moving. You want to keep that moving. That cheese is melting in there. That cheese is melting in there. You put as much pasta water as you want in there, depending on how saucy you want it. We're going to taste the sauce for seasoning. Boiling hot right now. Okay, I'm going to hit it with a little bit of salt. I didn't put any of that in there yet. A little sprinkle of salt. Taste it before you season it because the water has salt in it. We let a little bit of that water cook out. I'm going to say that's good to go. We're going to put this on a plate. Alright, so here's our finished product.
Yay.
We got the gluten-free with the brown butter sauce, which could go with either. I just wanted to present 2 different options to you. This is our quick tomato sauce. And that's the good thing about this too. If you pull these out of the freezer and cook them on a weeknight, just get a jar of tomato sauce and pour it on top of there.
It takes literally minutes
Yeah.
to do.
I didn't even let these sit in the pan and absorb sauce. I just poured sauce on top. It would literally be the time it takes to boil water and cook the gnocchi.
Because who has time for all this business?
Yeah, we don't. I mean, it's a Monday night and I'm already exhausted. Alright, well, let's taste this. One thing you will notice with this brown butter sauce, you want to eat it right away. It's only been sitting for like 3 minutes or so, but it started to get a lot thicker. So you can put a little more water in it if you're gonna if it's gonna sit for a little bit before everyone sits down to dinner. But go for it. So it's got a little bit of, not really al dente, but it's got like, you have to bite into it. It's not just falling apart in your mouth. How are those?
Yeah, so mine definitely have a lot of potato in it. And you can taste it, and like the cassava flour tends to be a little bit more gummy, but it's not like too gummy. And so it's really, really good. Yeah. And the sauce is really good too.
When I made this before, I felt like the cassava just didn't have as much flavor. So you're getting a lot more potato in it. Whereas the flour, as it cooks, it's developing more flavor. Can I taste one of these?
Yeah. But if you don't like potato, like our friend Hannah.
So good.
Hannah, do not make these because you wouldn't like this, but you would like those.
You would like these because these just taste like pasta dumplings.
Yeah.
Which is what they are. How do you say it again?
You kind of have to yell it.
You don't have to yell it?
Gnocchi.
But these are so good. These took 60 seconds to cook, 90 seconds from the freezer.
It's definitely one of the quick and easy meals. You can plan ahead, make your life a lot easier.
Let me show you guys how much this makes. I don't know if you saw this before. She didn't even make all of hers. These are the gluten-free ones. She didn't even roll all of them out yet. I rolled all of them out. That's how much you have. That's about 10 per person, so you're gonna feed like 4 to 5 people off this one thing. 2 potatoes, I don't know, a cup of flour. That's what I ended up using, but it all depends. And an egg yolk.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes. Make these on a Sunday, freeze them. That's what we usually do. Yeah, the first time I made these, I didn't realize how much it was gonna make. Made it on a Sunday evening, and then we froze all of them. And then you've got dinner whenever you want it.
And you can use like a bunch of different sauces. Like we, I think, originally made it with a pesto sauce.
Yes.
And so that was easy and fun too, to change it up. So, I mean, it's very versatile and easy to make. And it tastes delicious.
Easier than the gumbo, for sure.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of different tricks that you can do with this to make it better too. Like this is just kind of bare bones recipe for it. So there's a lot of other people that make recipes for this.
For sure. I mean, this is down and dirty gnocchi, but it tastes delicious. And it's got that springy texture that you want. It's really good. Both of them are really good. If you like potatoes, definitely use the cassava flour.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, we tried another blend of a gluten-free flour, and it ended up coming out bitter. So I don't know what if you decide to make this and use a different kind of gluten-free flour. A different kind of gluten-free flour, let me know. We can try it out and see what it tastes like. But
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we're gonna say goodbye because we want to eat dinner.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock now, and I'm kind of hungry.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to, don't forget to like and subscribe. Give us a comment. This is all new for us, and we're super excited to do it. We're enjoying getting to do this with y'all.
Tell your friends about it, because I know for our friends and family, they're already sick of our faces. So make some other people sick of our faces. Oh, you can't get sick of that, babe. Mwah. Bye.
Bye.
Bam boom. Rise, my beauties.
Yeah, we did it.
Yay!
What do we do? We don't have anything ready.
Okay, ready?
So should I ask you a question? Okay. Beautiful. Recording, oh yeah.
You're going first. Let's do that again.
Oh my god.
All I said was, we're making.
Okay. How cute.
Pretty cute.
We made a mousse. Why did we do that? Why did I do that? Because I was gonna shred it, right?
Go. Go.
Oh, that's what's happening. You're kicking that. Alright, go to bed.
Thick sauce that you want to kind of absorb and hold on to. No, that's not what I was saying. Alright, so I'm going to add a little dried.
Do that again.
What, this?
Say all that again.
Gonna add some herbs. I'm gonna get a saucer instead.
A salsa